Excited to be here in my studio once again. Anyway, back to business. And so today I want to talk briefly about who your audience is and who your audience is not as an artist. And to begin with, most likely your audience is not your friends and family. Friends and family can be harsh. They can, they know you. And so they also know that you are an artist and the things that you do seem to come easy, especially if you're really prolific and you're doing a lot of art. Since they really, really, really know you, it can be difficult to gauge what you're doing and whether or not it's something marketable, something that you want to do to build your art career on. It's difficult to gauge through your friends and family. And there's a lot of reasons for that, because a lot of times friends and family will expect you to do stuff for them for free. And they also expect you to give it to them for little or nothing if they're willing to pay for it. And I'm just talking in generalities in my experience. And so they don't appreciate as much what you're doing. Hi, Jennifer. Okay, couch art is in and other art is out. Okay, so anyway, that got distracted. Okay, so one of the things is that, and also with your artwork, you got to have some sense of value to your work, so that you end up with, so you can actually make an income with your artwork. And your friends and family are not the people who are going to make you have a sense of value in what you do. And so this could all these feelings that happen because of friends and family can actually make you feel like what you do isn't particularly special. And you put it on yourself as well. What you do is special, because not everybody is creative and can create images that speak to other people. So that's a psychological leap. And so this all has to do with trying to find your audience and who your audience is not, and who you don't want to relay. You don't want to rely on them to form your idea of who your ideal customer is. And let's see. So, and in the beginning, it's really hard because you feel like you really want the validation of selling a piece, and you really want, there's all this emotion that goes around creating your work. And I understand that, because the pieces that I create are really important to me. And when someone else resonates with them, especially somebody that I don't know well, it's just an amazing experience. So those are the people, the strangers that are finding interest in your work are your audience. So we were talking yesterday about getting out there on social media, and you have your friends, right? You have the people you know forever on your social media account, and you know your friends and your family, and this is the way you keep in touch with them. But you also want to try to seek out places other than your comfortable spots to put your art out there and create interest outside of your little circle of trust. So that takes some personal willpower to make happen. It was difficult for me. All I wanted on my social media was just my friends and family. It's just a way I wanted to keep in touch. And now I ended up making my personal profile on Facebook just open. I wasn't going to put anything on there that I didn't want my mom to read. So I just leave it open. It's a public, it's all open and public. So anybody can follow me. And the thing is, I don't necessarily, and you can also curate who it is that you want to see what you're doing as well. So if there's somebody comes on and becomes a problem, I just block them. And I haven't had a whole lot of problem with that. So, and that's also the way you can also encourage the other thing is you might find your audience through your friends and family by asking them to share. It's my personal experience that friends and family don't necessarily share my work. And I think it's because my friends and family don't understand my work. So that's fine, because I don't do like just landscapes and stuff like that. My stuff has a complicated inner journey that I hope that other people going through an inner journey end up discovering and appreciating what it is that I'm doing. It's I love Frida Kahlo because she did lots of self-portraits too, and hers was a personal journey that I could resonate with. So that's what I'm saying, is that your audience is not necessarily your friends and family, although they are an avenue depending on what work you're doing. You will know who your audience is the moment that you start selling your work, whether you're selling the originals or prints. And so those are the pieces that are going to tell you who's resonating with your work and what's resonating with people. If you've got one piece that you get an awful lot of feedback on, and you let them know that it's for sale, and if it sells, you know that is a piece that indicates a direction that you should be going. And you also know now who that audience member is. And so this is a ongoing data-driven, data being paying attention to who it is that's talking to you about your work. It's not necessarily friends and family. Who it is that is willing to purchase your work, whether it prints or originals. And because once you sell a piece, it becomes proof that that concept, something about that piece. And so the thing is, you can ask them what it was about the piece that resonated with them. However, because it resonated with them doesn't necessarily mean it resonates everybody the same way. So constantly asking for feedback is the way you're going to find your audience. And definitely you can't be afraid to ask for a sale. And it doesn't have to be all salesy. Because that a sale is going to be what is giving you the information that what you have is marketable and print and something that you can actually make a living off eventually. And this is a long process. This isn't an overnight. I put a piece out, nobody says anything about it, and I'm done. I put out 10 pieces and no one says anything about it, and I'm done. You just keep going. You put your head down and you just keep going. And what I'm telling you here early on with the series that I'm going to be working on is this is stuff you need to know before you go all in and decide that this is your research as to whether or not what you're doing is marketable and whether or not you personally can find that audience. And the important part about that is you can't rely on someone else to find that audience for you. because people want to buy art from the artist. It's just like I happen to like Vera Wang's clothes at Kohl's. Okay, I don't like, I can't remember her name, Jennifer or somebody. I don't particularly like her style that she's got, and this and that. Or I like Levi's, and but I don't like Lee, and brand names. So what you're creating for yourself is a brand name of what it is that you're doing with your work. The other thing is if you're kind of all over the place, not knowing exactly where your voice is and what you want to do, this is all part of the testing of finding your audience, finding the things that you love doing that will give you some kind of feedback and monetary income. So that's important, is to just keep putting it out there. And like what I mean by not being salesy, I just said that. You don't have to say, what is his name? The guy who sells, what is that stuff called? It's terrible. Mike Mize. No, is it Mike Mize? No, that's an artist. Mike Myers, is that what his name is? Where he's selling this stuff. Buy it now. You don't have to do that at all. Not at all. That feels all salesy, icky, nicky, right? Not everybody can be that way. Or like the MyPillow guy. He's everywhere, right? And I'm going to give you sales right now, and give you this deal. Okay. You don't have to go out all out and be all salesy. It's more subtle than that. All you have to do is say, here's my new piece of artwork, and PM me if you have any interest in buying it. Now that makes, how am I going to be able to afford it, right? Just put a price. This is my piece. This is why I created it. Here's the stats on it. So it's the title, maybe the title's up with your description, and then the title, and the medium at the bottom, and a price, and PM me if you're interested. Because remember, we don't have a website yet, but we have a PayPal account. So, or you can do that whole thing just like I said and say prints size 9x12 are available at $35. Okay, PM me if you're interested. I mean, all that is just information. It isn't all in your face pushing a sale. And that's all it takes, because if they're really interested the thing is, you got to let them know, because they won't all ask. The other thing is, the other people who are not your customer, not your audience, are people that are asking you to do things other than what you usually do. So, for instance, a lot of people who put out portraits, they'll do something that they love doing, and then next thing you know, somebody's asking them, well, here's this really awful picture of my family member. Could you take that and do a portrait of it? Do what you do? Or can you do this like Rembrandt? Or, okay, those people are not your customer, and it's okay to say no if you're not interested, because that will kill your soul as an artist, taking on projects that are not your forte. And also, you could find yourself in the trap of doing an awful lot of that kind of thing, because you're just allowing it. And so don't be so hungry as to just take anything that comes in. Stay with your focus of what you do. One way to do that, one way to avoid that, is to make those way more expensive than what your originals would be. So I did a series of 100 self-portraits, and I had an awful lot of inquiries for people wanting me to do their picture in that style. And I was like, well, do I really want to do that? I've already, doing my own business. I got all this other stuff going on. Do I want to take on commissions for other portraits? Is that something that's going to feed my soul? Because that's one of the reasons why I do it. And I thought, no. So I did $500 a square foot for a portrait. That weeded them out really quick. I don't know what they were expecting because they didn't tell me. But they didn't reply back. No, thank you, or nothing. So, but the thing is, that's okay because they were not my customer. You got to remember, if they say no or they reject what you're doing, they are not your customer. The other thing is you want to figure out how to get, if you're PMing people back and forth, you'll get their, if they buy something, you get their email through the sale, through PayPal. So you want to collect those, and you want to stay in touch with those people because they're your customers, and you want to start a personal relationship with these people that are interested in what you're doing. You can create that online. You can create that through personal messages, personal messages, and also through emails that you send out about new pieces. Boy, my mouth is dry today. Hold on. So, your audience is, and all these things that I'm talking about, I've personally been through, and a lot of them are hard to accept. Okay, the thing is, and we as artists, we are sensitive. Okay, and it is time to get to a point. If you're really wanting to start selling your work and try to make a living at it, you got to kind of do a mental disconnect between sales and what they mean emotionally to you and the pieces themselves. Because the pieces themselves, but you also want to retain that value sense between the two of them. I hope that made sense. So you want to be emotionally strong when it comes to whether or not somebody buys your work. Okay, and then because you want to keep going. And you don't have to compromise on what it is that you're doing. So it just may take longer to find your audience if you're doing something that is uniquely yours. It's been taking me a long time to completely find my audience, to grow my audience. And the thing is, you don't need a huge audience. That's also kind of a mistaken idea. The larger your audience, the more likely you are to sell. True, statistically. However, you don't need to be on a level of national notoriety in order to make a living. If you had 1,000, no, let's just bring it down. Let's make it really easy. If you had 100 people willing to spend an average of $10 a piece monthly, in other words, that might be, a piece that's $1,200. Average monthly, once a year. Okay. How much money are you making at $10 a piece? Enough to pay for some art supplies, make it worth your time to continue to do it, right? So, what happens if you have 1,000 people willing to spend $10 a month? And see, this is kind of where that whole Patreon thing goes. And there's actually a new network out there called localscom. localscom, where you can actually build your own community, and it's very much like Patreon. So you can give, they get to subscribe to you, and it's usually for $1 amount. And just like Patreon, you can put in levels, and let's say you're going to do, it seems that you don't even have a website here, okay? And these don't, I don't think Patreon costs you anything, and neither does locals.com. So you can put in a monthly bonus for people who spend $10 a month. Okay, maybe you send them a set of note cards of every month of whatever it is that you've got going on that month. Or maybe it's as inexpensive as you're going to do a live Zoom with everybody being able to ask you questions about your work. See, the thing is, your audience are the ones that find you amazing. They find you, whatever you're doing is, and they want to support you. That's who your audience is. So those are the people that you want to try to seek out. And you can't force it, but you can make yourself available in various ways to make that persona, that fandom happen. And so you, like I said, you don't need a ton. But the thing is, once you reach a threshold of like 1,000 people that are following you, it grows after that pretty quickly, because those are people that are huge fans of what you're doing, and they share it. So it's just getting out of those early, getting past those mental hurdles at the beginning. That's the hard part of getting started. And maybe you just need to start with a project that you just put something small out every day. That sounds big, doesn't it? That's one of the reasons why I did the 100 self-portraits, is because I wasn't painting every day and I didn't find any discipline in what I was doing. I had ignored painting for years, and I was like, well, I just need to really just dedicate. That's another thing. If you're going to want to make money off of this is something you have to have some dedication toward. So finding your audience would be putting that piece out every day, or every other day, something consistently. If it takes you 150 hours to do something, then you could put out updates on where you're at on a piece. You do a live doing the piece as you're creating the piece, or maybe you got 2 or 3 things going on at the same time, just showing where you're at on pieces, so that it's not just it's about gaining interest in what you're doing. That's the audience that you want to find. You want to find people find what you're doing is amazing and valuable to them in some way. So, let's reiterate. Your audience is not necessarily your friends and family. You may have to start there, and with a good network of friends and family who support you, you may be able to expand that network. But you're not going to be able to rely on only your friends and family. You have to get outside that box. Your audience is not the people who are asking you to do things that's outside your repertoire, outside of the things that you want to do. It's okay to say no. Your audience is the people who absolutely love what you're doing and are willing to share it and interact with you about your work. And your audience is, well, it's definitely not anybody who has anything negative to say. You block them, right? We talked about that. And you're going to find your audience by getting outside of your box and getting those mental hurdles of self-doubt and realizing that what you have, what you're doing, the world needs. Um, what is it they're saying now? That we're all in this together, alone, right? And that's really a really great way to describe what an artist does. They are speaking to the world alone. But it doesn't always have to be that way. It's just, you have to make the commitment. And believe in yourself enough that that you want to go out, you want to share. And of course, the audience that you're looking for are the ones that are willing to pay for your work. So there you go. I think I reiterated everything. If not, you can go back and look. This will be up. So, and like I said yesterday, every artwork that's come through here is marketable. There is a market for what you're doing. But it's up to you, because people want to buy from you. They're your fans. So, I will be back on Monday. I'm going to skip tomorrow. So, because it's Mother's Day. So, I'm going to skip tomorrow, and I will be back on Monday, and from my own personal studio, and then we'll just keep going from there. We'll talk about more about selling your work and getting there. All right. Well, we'll see you later.